siding, changing out the doors and windows. Both of them are approved.
Great. Thank you. The next item, comments and updates regarding the April-May Town Council meetings. Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll hit the highlights hopefully quickly here. First and foremost, the town is staffed and ready to go for the season. We talked about that. Of course, that's thanks to the great team that operates the town. DENRAC work is underway this week to finalize the repairs for the winter storm damage for the crossovers. Some legislative points that were raised during the last two meetings, one around in association with the windmills, the electrical substation permit, jurisdictional authority legislation that was passed by the state. It's been appealed by Sussex County. Another one is around the Housing for Every Delawarean Act that was introduced within the last month that would require all three counties and covered municipalities to provide for affordable housing in their comprehensive plan. That's in the process. The only update really is around all three counties are on record as opposing it. So we'll see where that leads to. The last one is some pending legislation that came through the bicycle committee or safety committee around the ability to lower speed limits to 20 miles an hour, which I think would be a huge benefit to the town. Key points of note coming out of the various committees over the last couple months, the Police Accountability Committee shared its guidance that was issued by the Delaware Association of Chief of Police with respect to its relationship between the ICE and the Delaware law enforcement. Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee, as you recall from a prior update, we're having a learning and sharing workshop that happened and was highly successful. A great turnout by many towns, as well as DelDOT and the Lieutenant Governor's Office. You know, Teresa and Mickey really do a great job running that and bringing through a lot of great topics, issues that end up having a positive impact on not only our community, but others. Seaside Craft Show, all systems go for June 6th. Looking forward to that one. Hopefully we have this beautiful weather that we see today. Cultural and historical affairs. Lots of work still underway with the 125th anniversary celebration. And we touched on a couple of the exhibits, one being the police department's 100th anniversary sub-exhibit and the Tiny Art Museum exhibit, some of which have made their way through Town Hall and as well as at the Historical Center. Stormwater and flood, big point there is around, we shared the highlights on Danielle Swallow's presentation. She's a coastal hazards specialist from the UD Sea Grant. She focused the discussion on climate change and rising sea level and what are the resilient efforts that we as a community can take. Cliff always has great highlights. The key ones I'm pulling out here, one, where we've got a new phone alert system going in place. He provided an update on the Safe Street project, concepts and design relative to South Pennsylvania Avenue and North Atlantic. The reality is concepts and designs were shown. We've asked them to go back and specifically address what would be the impacts be for what they shared with us. So more to come there. The parking lot access that we see on 1st and 2nd Street. We've had many delays around the materials. The materials are in. We're moving forward and we're doing as best we can to get that done and dusted this week, if not next. Spoke about the bidding process and timing around the boardwalk retaining wall in Central Park. Those bids are expected to come in July. Touched upon this time of year, algae is a big topic sometimes on our canals, just reinforcing the fact that we test it frequently, no water quality issues at all. And then the website redesign, which we've talked about, is on its way and moving towards production here soon. Key decisions made by council. We had a second reading and approval on the ordinance to amend the persons entitled to seasonal parking permits. That was approved. We approved the town's investment policy, which is an annual event. We approved various budget items. We approved the revised parking maps. We approved the reappointment of Mr. Charles McMullen as our alderman. And finally, we just approved moving the June town council meeting from the 19th due to the federal holiday to Friday, June 26th. So those are the key highlights, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. John.
Mr. Chairman, since the town council meeting is being moved from June 19th, which is Juneteenth, excuse me, a federal holiday,
Yes.
the question came up if we have a meeting for the planning commission, should we move that also? And I'm going to ask that we not move it.
Okay.
That we have, if we have a meeting next month, it'd be on the 20th. And that's very personal because I'm a volunteer at the farmer's market. I don't live here all the time, and so I got my schedule set up to work with when we have our meetings, but.
Well, everything is about you, John. So, no, I would be okay keeping it. I think I would say let's see what official business we have in terms of any applications, and then potentially some of the work that might come out of today's discussion and some of our previous old business is some homework and sort of desktop work that we have to do. So we could also potentially cancel next month's meeting, provided we're all doing some of that homework, with the understanding that we're going to regroup in July on some of those items. So TBD, let's hold the 20th for now.
Thank you.
And then we'll decide maybe here in the next hour or week what the final outcome would be. But that sounds fine to me. Okay, any other commission comments or questions on the first few items? No? Okay, any public comments on those first few items? No? Okay. New business. The first item here, the Planning Commission of the Town of Bethany will consider an application for minor subdivision for property identified as tax map and parcel 134-13.00-164.00 and 134-13.00-165.00, block 1-5, lots 1-5 and 1-6, to eliminate an existing lot line between the lots and to create 3 new lots. Susan?
Okay, this is a minor subdivision, and that it is called that because there are more than 2 lots. So keep that in mind. And as Mark said, it's for block 15, lots 15 and 16, tax map and parcels 134-13-164 and 134-13-165 on Garfield Parkway. It has no address at this point. The DRB Group Eastern Shore LLC is requesting to subdivide 2 parcels known as Block 15, Lot 15, and Block 15, Lot 16 into 3 lots. Based on the information they provided, 1, the property is zoned R2 residential pursuant to Appendix 3, Table of Dimensional Requirements in the R2 district. The minimum street frontage for interior lots is 60 feet, and the minimum lot area for a single dwelling lots is 7,000 square feet. Parcel 164 consists of 17,320 square feet. It has 122.1 linear feet of frontage on Garfield Parkway and is approximately 172.51 feet deep. Parcel 165 consists of 22,520 square feet. It has 104.99 linear feet of frontage on Garfield Parkway and is approximately 172.51 feet deep. The applicant is proposing to create 3 lots, all fronting on Garfield Parkway. The existing property line between parcel 164 and 165 is to be eliminated. Parcel 1 will have an area of 10,054 square feet and 71.03 linear feet of frontage on Garfield Parkway. There is an existing driveway apron off Garfield Parkway. A possible address is 740 Garfield Parkway. The applicant is planning to construct a single-family dwelling on that lot. The setbacks for the lot would be 20 feet front, 7 feet each side, and 15 feet rear minimum. Parcel 2 will have 16,781 square feet of area and 95.24 linear feet of frontage on Garfield Parkway. There is no existing driveway apron off Garfield Parkway. The applicant is planning to construct a 2-family dwelling duplex and provide access internally through an easement over parcels 1 and 3. The minimum lot area for multi-dwelling unit building is 7,000 square feet per dwelling unit. The required street frontage for multi-dwelling unit buildings is 40 linear feet per dwelling unit for interior lots. Possible addresses for the units on this lot would be 720A and 720B Garfield Parkway. For a duplex, the setbacks will be 20 feet front, 14 feet each side, and 15 feet rear. Parcel 3 will have an area of 12,879 square feet and 61.55 linear feet of frontage on Garfield Parkway. There is an existing driveway apron off Garfield. A possible address for this lot would be 690 Garfield Parkway. The applicant is planning to construct a single-family dwelling on this lot. The setbacks would be 20 feet front, 7 each side, and 15 feet rear. I have heard from Sussex Conservation that as proposed, with the inclusion of the duplex, the applicant will need to submit a detailed plan for stormwater management. The Water Department has approved, I believe, supplying the water from the rear over an existing utility easement. I did also receive recently information that Sussex County has approved the location of the sewer line. I gave a reduced copy of the plat. Any questions?
Just a point of, can you just, there's been a couple of folks who have approached me on this topic around the, the stormwater runoff, and I heard you talk about Sussex Conservative. What's particularly, if you could just be clear on the steps to take to make sure, A, the runoff, how it's handled, and then B, the maintenance of it, the runoff where it goes is actually maintained and cleaned.
These are very large lots, and the typical way of handling stormwater runoff for single-family homes is the grading, which will be monitored, and that they take their downspouts and boot them into either dry wells or pop-ups or perforated pipes, and they can drain toward Garfield. I don't know what the conditions are for the rear of the property. That would have to be looked at when they're being developed. For the duplex, and here's where I don't know whether Sussex County will include the other 2 lots with it, but they will have to go through a review for their stormwater management.
Okay.
Other than that, we look at, there are our ordinance for pervious and impervious materials, ground covering. That will be looked at as well.
Susan, I have had some questions too about some properties that have just been developed with the trees all being taken down at once. Is that going to be?
I spoke with one of the owners, I think, or of that company yesterday, and he has told me that they will be taking down the trees where the development is taking place, and they have plans to retain the trees along the rear property line.
Just one follow-up question, sorry. Please,
sorry.
Rosemary, ladies
No, you
first.
go ahead.
No, you.
Oh, excuse me. It seems to me, too, they need DelDOT approval to add the other driveway. And what happens if DelDOT won't approve the driveway to Garfield Parkway?
I think they're not planning on putting any new entrance in. They're going to use the 2 curb cuts that already exist.
Well,
So,
there was one lot I thought it said that didn't have,
that's right. What they're going to do, and I think it shows on the plan that I gave you, is along the front, they will create, I think it's 20 feet, from the property line back, a 20-foot easement, and that will go from, it'll be one directional, I think, and it'll go from one driveway entrance across and out the other, so that they can enter into their own parking on the, farther up, but that'll have sort of a easement for all properties to gain entry.
okay. So there will be an entry and exit for all of them. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a lot of questions, but I want to hear from everybody first, and then I'll.
Okay.
I just have a couple just clarifying points from the question you answered, which I got. So one is any plans as they're being built obviously will be here for people to see, which will be inclusive of stormwater runoff plans and whatnot as they're building, correct?
All of the paperwork is public,
Yep.
and they can come in, call me, and we can schedule time to look at it at any time.
Sussex County is the one that determines the runoff aspects.
Sussex Conservation will review their stormwater management plan. Ultimately, I think we then get the final say on how this is constructed.
Then the one piece for me that I'm not clear on, and it's probably just me, that in terms of cleanup aspects associated with runoff, I know the town does a great job within Bethany West. We go through and we clean out the swales from time to time. So to the extent it's within the town, I think it's fair to say that we'll bring that into our purview as to clean or no, or,
No, this is all private property.
so if it's private property, the owner has to ensure that it's clean.
Like I said, I don't know the condition of the rear property line. If there is any swale back there, then the property owners, there would be an easement on each side. I don't know that there is. I didn't,
Okay,
well, we have a utility easement that I'm aware of. I'm not aware of anything else. So all stormwater would be the responsibility of those particular lots.
thank you.
Do we have a?
It would
the applicant?
seem that if utilities are being fed from the rear of the property, there would be some condition of being able to access them also.
You talking to the mic.
Sorry. Yes, utilities.
Don't
right.
they have to go to the microphone?
Yes, any audience questions, please go to the podium.
You have to go to the microphone and state your name and address, please.
Do we want to hear from the applicant?
You can sit next to me.
Done this before. Thank you. Our property at 6...
Please state your name and address.
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry, Ann Barbieri. Our property at 605 Rosewood backs onto this project. And I'm wondering, one, will the utility connection come through our yard or next to our yard onto, where does it connect, number one? And two, 15 feet, I walked back there yesterday, and if he's going to take the trees down where he puts the house, and there's only 15 feet left between his house and the end of his property. I don't think the trees are there. They're mostly closer to 26. So I don't see how he can leave the trees. But possibly, maybe one tree. And then how long does something like this take? What's the timeline for a house actually appearing there? Or a couple of houses?
I don't know what their plans are for actual construction yet. They could present them all at once or one at a time, and typical timeline for building a house is 6 to 9 months.
And will we get notice in Bethany West that something's happening?
No,
Okay, we'll just have to keep our eye on it.
it's just single-family homes, and the duplex is still under the code of a 1- and 2-family dwelling unit. So that's the International Residential Code, so it's no.
Okay, all right, I think that's all, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
My name's Carol Wigglesworth, and I'm a joint owner with Ann of 605 Rosewood Court. And I just want to clarify that the size of the new 3 lots is greater than 5,000 square feet for each one. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Yes.
One is 7,000 and,
No, one is, hang on. Parcel 3, which would be, let me remind myself.
12,000.
Parcel 3 is the farthest east, and that's 12,800. The middle parcel is 16,700, and the westernmost parcel, number 1, is 10,000.
okay, thank you.
You have a question?
Good morning. My name is Josh Mastrangelo. I'm with DRB Group. So to try to answer some of the questions, that came up this morning. Obviously, Susan, Ms. Frederick did a great job of explaining what we're doing. From a stormwater management perspective, we are providing the Sussex Conservation District with a detailed stormwater plan for all 3 lots. Because it's kind of combined and happening at once, they've asked for a plan for everything. So there will be stormwater management for all 3 lots, the maintenance of which will be included in the deeds and a property association for all 3 lots. So the owners of those lots will maintain that stormwater facility. It's not a pond, it's a large kind of depression. It'll be a vegetated kind of swale meadow in the back. As mentioned, these lots are really deep. They're 168, 170 feet deep. So the houses are pulled up towards 26, not necessarily on the front setback, but very close to it, kind of to give a good street front there. So there's a lot of ground in the back, in between where the backs of the houses will be, where the adjacent houses on Rosewood Court will be. So we'll provide that. Those plans are into the Conservation District now. Those will obviously, we expect them to be approved in the next few weeks. We'll need those obviously prior to any building permit submissions. As Ms. Frederick alluded to, for access, there's existing 2 curb cuts along Route 26. We thought instead of adding a third, and in order to provide opportunity for all the units to kind of make their movements and pull out regularly, we're providing a shared driveway along the frontage, so that we'll use the existing 2 curb cuts, and then there will be essentially a driveway that will go along the front of the units. There'll be private drives into the houses as well, separate from that shared driveway. Again, that will all be maintained as a part of all the lots in the homes that are there. From a utility perspective, we're providing sewer and water. All the work that will be done underground, so we'll drill everything in, so it'll be deep, so there'll be minimal disturbance, no disturbance really to any of the properties that are adjacent to it. We'll have to the town will help us make a connection in Rosewood Court, and then we'll have a connection of sewer in Half Moon Drive. But again, all the connections and the piping will be put in without having to necessarily dig anywhere. We will, as much as possible, maintain existing vegetation on the lots. Again, the lots are really deep, so there's a potential opportunity, but providing the stormwater management, we'll have to do grading back there. So it really will be, when we go to look at where that is and what it is, how we can avoid any existing trees. Obviously, as we get back into the setback, we shouldn't have much back in there, but we do have to provide stormwater management. There is an existing swale that runs along a portion of the back of the property and along the side of the property. That all doesn't get touched, and our stormwater will eventually drain into that, which it's doing now. We're just providing that extra treatment as required by Sussex Conservation District. Any questions?
First of all, thank you for being here.
Yep.
The scuttlebutt in Bethany West is that there were going to be townhouses and a swimming pool. And I just put that on the table because that's what I live in Bethany West, and that's the question, one of the questions that has been put to me. I didn't hear anything about townhouses. I just heard about the duplex, and nothing about a swimming pool. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, so the plan is, and the reason why we're creating the 3 lots is to have 2 single-family lots and a duplex in the middle.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question. You were talking about a swell that...
Sir, excuse me. You need to speak in the microphone.
My name is Vince Domenici. I live at 609 Rosewood. You were talking about a swell that's going behind those properties, and behind my house there's a swell, and I think it joins the swell that goes behind there, and then it runs in a swell that goes under 26. So my big concern is the maintenance of that swell and the opening under 26 to make sure that It stays clear. I don't know if it needs a bigger hole or whatever, but a lot of times, because of the debris that gets just caught up over time in that swale, there is a tendency of having water back up, and you get some flooding in that area. So that's my biggest concern. And I guess that would be the ongoing maintenance that we were talking about.
Yeah, obviously, with what we're going to put in there, will help with that. As a part of the Conservation District approval, pipe size and all that is looked at to make sure that it's, that it's adequate. All that was upgraded as a part of the Route 26 improvements a while back, but that's all in process. It should get better with what we're doing. I mean, it's a large depression that will be in the backs of those lots. So if it does flood, it'll probably most likely flood back up into that.
Do I understand that you're committed to retaining as much of the trees and, as you said, the vegetation?
As much as we can
as possible?
with what we have to do. Again, most of all the development and building is pulled forward. The lots are really deep, but we've got to provide that stormwater management. So whatever grading that's associated with that, that'll really dictate it. But if we can save them, yeah, we'll save them. And from I think timing, our plan is as soon as we kind of get the Conservation District approvals, and if this is looked upon favorably, to hopefully start construction this summer, and they probably wouldn't be complete until early next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, John.
Are there any other questions or comments? So, Mr. Chairman, I've been going through a pretty extensive series of cancer radiation treatments, and it gives me brain fog every once in a while. So if you just bear with me, I want to make sure that we all understand what's happening here and what is before us. If we were in a blimp, there's one up at Dover because they're racing there this weekend, and we were looking down on 26. This property is across from St. Anne's. It's on the western side of the entrance to Bethany West. And there's two undeveloped lots, one big lot. They were originally sold to different people, I believe, and they have now been combined. And the idea then is it's one big lot. The action they're asking for from us, as I understand it, is to approve that and remove that property line that's in the tax records so that there would, and put two new property lines so there would be 3 lots. One lot would have a single-family house, one lot would have a duplex, and the third lot would have a single-family house. Or at least that's the proposal. But they're not asking for our approval of that plan. They're only asking us to approve the combining and the dividing of that into 3 lots. That's the only action. If we approve that today, that's the only action that has been approved. All the things we just talked about the swale and stormwater management, that comes with their applications for whatever they're going to build at all. And I think it's just real important for people to understand that if we approve this, it is only to divide the property. And then the rest of this comes later as those proposals come into Susan. Now, if I have misstated it, please somebody tell me that I'm wrong, because that's where I am in terms of considering how to vote on the proposal.
Good morning. My name is Anton Jensen. I'm with Ann and Carol, and they're owners over there on one of the properties in back of the lots that are proposed to be subdivided. So I understood, Mr. Gahn, what you just said, that there's only this narrow issue before you of whether to allow the subdivision that's requested. And my question was, is it possible for your commission to make approval of the subdivision contingent on there being only residential development there, as opposed to, you know, there's a possibility, I suppose, that you could approve the subdivision and then all of a sudden we could hear that the plans are all different and that they're not going to do residences as have been discussed, and that all of a sudden something different would happen. So could it be an approval that's contingent on a residential plan? That's my question.
I think I can answer that for you. One, it's only going to be residential. That's what it's zoned for, so it can't be changed into anything else. Two, with the sizes that they made these lots, there's no way to make it anything but a single family. The only thing they could do different is make the duplex a single family, and they have decided not to do that. And that, I mean, that would have made it easier for them. They wouldn't have had to go through Sussex Conservation. But they're determined to do a duplex there, and they're doing the stormwater management plans. But that's all they're sized for. So it can't be townhouses. It can't be anything more in density than what they've proposed.
I really appreciate you addressing that and clarifying that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The benefit of the duplex is you're getting a stormwater management plan out of it.
Yeah.
Without it, they wouldn't have any requirement to do any stormwater management.
Right.
And again, I want to just stress, we are not approving what they're building. We are looking at these 3 lots under the R2 zoning, which requires 7,000 square feet minimum and for residential. Can't be, it's not zoned for commercial. And so we're constrained by what the zoning regulations call for, which is 7,000 square feet. And if these 3 lots meet those conditions, you would assume that we would vote in favor of that, because there's no variations, there's no whatever. That's what we're doing today. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I enjoyed the ride in the blimp, by the way.
Did you land?
You could do that on Google now. You don't even have to leave your chair. Rosemary, any questions? No, thank you. Diane, Kathy, Bob? Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the application submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And then, Mr. Chairman, I assume that we have the paperwork to sign off and approve this.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do that after the meeting.
Okay. Moving on. Item B, discussion, consideration, possible vote to approve and forward to Town Council draft amendments to Chapter 500, swimming pools of Town Code to add a definition of dewatering and a section that addresses best practices of dewatering. Rosemary?
Thank you. At the present time, the building inspector works with homeowners or people who are developing their property and putting in swimming pools. And much of what is incorporated here in the ordinance is what is the practice that's already done. Basically, what we've done, based on looking at other communities, is we've just added times of year, just like the pile driving, that they can do it, and also the notice in advance. In addition, a definition of dewatering. But for the most part, this just incorporates basically what the building inspector already does, working with the homeowner at the present time. Would that be correct, Susan?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'll accept the timing.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think the explanation is self-evident and clear, but it does, if we were to have this eventually approved, it does have some clarity to what it is. It defines what dewatering is and things like that, which
New term.
without it, you could get into a discussion about whether they were doing it right or not. So I think it will be helpful for both the town inspectors and for the property owners.
Yeah, and it just clarifies, too, that you can't dewater into the Loop Canal or the Asselman Canal, which I think is an important point.
And also, it only can be done off-season?
It can't be done from May 15th through September 15th. Basically, it goes with the parking.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I have a general question. How, generally speaking, how long does it take to dewater? I mean, is it days?
Yeah.
Weeks?
It depends on the problem.
Yeah.
It can take a week to more, and it's a pump that runs
Constantly.
24 hours a day, which is annoying to say the least. But it's also that it creates runoff. You have to then dispose of the water. They have to filter the water. Sometimes it's a hose that's running down the alley. It's problematic in the busy months. So if we can restrict it to more off-season times if it's necessary. And if there's an emergency, yes, we can certainly look at it that way. We do that now anyway. If something needs to be done off hours, or there's an emergency and it's an off day, we alert the police department and we generally let them do what they have to do.
Okay?
Yeah, I think we could vote. Motion?
I so move we approve.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to old business. So I guess I circulated a draft of a paper that sort of summarized what would be a white paper structure related to site design criteria that I think I'd like to discuss here and get some feedback to hopefully finalize and prepare a formal white paper to submit to town council. I did want to just preface it by saying that we're not trying to identify a solution today for these items. This isn't trying to solve the tree criteria or the other items that would fall into this site criteria. And I think when we look at, the issue of telling people or prescribing to people what to do in their yard or other things. This is, you know, this is looking at a consolidated, you know, approach for Susan for projects to be able to put all of the elements or components to what goes into a project in one area. Lot coverage, driveway layout or configuration, landscape, grading, stormwater, the things that we talk about and are all over in the code into one plan or one component of an application to help, you know, drive a little more consistency. And I think when we look back to, you know, bulk density, it's sort of the same thing. You know, we weren't necessarily trying to tell people what their house was supposed to look like, but rather give a set of guidelines to drive homes to be not rectangular boxes, right? That was the goal.
Correct.
And we're, you know, the outcome of this, I think, should be a similar goal. We're not telling you that you have to have grass and trees and a driveway that's gray and for X number of cars. It's a set of guidelines, and it's you know, potentially even a checklist. And these things don't exist right now, and it's not easy to find what the rules are, if they do exist. Even the lot coverage that we adopted a few years ago now is buried in there, and it doesn't show up anywhere as a requirement as part of an application, or a place that you even have to submit on a permit application what your lot coverage is. And, you know, many other jurisdictions require you to tabulate what your lot coverage is right on the cover sheet of a permit application. So I think those are like examples that, as an outcome of this effort, we could ask for and provide some simple criteria that could make, you know, the building inspectors' life a little easier, but also ensure that there's a little more consistency across all districts, you know, not just east of one and this zone, but all zones. And it could apply to major renovations and other components. So I wanted to say that because I think that was some of the concerns when we started last meeting talking about trees to start. And I think the paper that I shared, you know, can incorporate trees, but it also can incorporate one of Susan's items, which I think was driveway aprons, and it could incorporate what we already adopted as lot coverage, and it could incorporate many of those other things that relate to sites, grading, post, you know, grading, final grading, elevations, which is, I think, a constant issue of people trying to elevate their grade higher than their neighbors and run off into their lots. Those are all things that show up on surveys but aren't really submitted as part of a permit application. They can easily be if they're asked for. And so we have the opportunity, I think, as part of this to put all of those things onto one plan or into one document and make it a little more, you know, put a little more control around it potentially as part of this effort. So that was the premise behind the draft. I worked and got some feedback from Kathy and Diane as it related to trees and also site work, since they were sort of leading that effort. And this was sort of to start the conversation. And I just wanted to say that before we got into some of the comments and feedback for the discussion today.
Mark, I have
Yes.
a question. This is just the start of the process to form a white paper to send to the town council for approval, what we would like to do, and then come back and do the work.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a question about, I didn't quite understand whether we're talking about, excuse me, taking site, anything to do with the site development from different parts of the code and putting it in one place, or if we're focusing then down on the specifics of each one of those things. So in other words, getting down into how many of something you can have, or how big it has to be, or are we further developing the site development plan, or just taking the taking it from different places and putting it all together for convenience?
I think that's, that comes down to what we feel is best. Right now, some of these elements are all over the place in the code. So I don't know if I don't know how it works when you move something from one location to another. Or do they exist, and is it easier to amend them in their current space? Or say, see here, which happens all over the code, which, is just flipping from like this page to another page constantly.
It was more of a list of what, I think we're developing a site plan review.
Yeah.
So all of these things that are in the code can stay, and you say you need your driveway and parking. And then you put the code section where they find the requirements that they have to have. But then, you have your landscaping, or if we want grading, and then we can put more things in that I don't think some people think about until they're in the middle of things. We might put as much as accessory structures. If you plan on having one, unfortunately, there was a case where they built out and they then decided they had no storage anywhere. And unfortunately, they couldn't put a shed down. So I think it's just a list to create the entire picture. And then, all those other parts can be in the code where they are, but we just want a site plan, and it should contain these elements. And if,
So these already exist, it's not that we're putting further restrictions.
right, and there might be some that we find that don't exist, that we have to then think about. But I think it then, maybe a checklist where, they've looked at it, they've said, I need this, I don't need a shed, I don't need a garage, so that we have a complete idea of what they're doing, and they have a record of how they looked at it to begin with.
So it sounds like it would be easier for you, too. Something
yeah.
like-
Yeah.
So just to,
Susan asked for it initially, so we're sort of responding to her.
I think it clarifies, not only for me, but for whoever's building the house, things, and the builder, that things they have to do, that if they do, there's, some have bad dirt, they want to take it out and put more. All right, then I'm going to check the grades here and after that. So steps are going to be in there that this is your site plan, this is the grade it's supposed to be at when we start, and it's the grade we're going to be at when we finish. And here is the driveway. If you're planning on a pool, don't put in a 4-foot fence. So they would be aware of things that they need to do. And if they're thinking about it down the line, they have prepared for it, and there isn't any problems with it.
But I would, okay.
no, my point, so number one, all for clarity, we're eliminating the ambiguity. The thing I just want to be clear on is checklist is one thing around, here's what we need to have. But my question is, what's going to be brought to the council? One, is it the checklist that has the components, or is it also going to include the detail of the components? Because there are elements, I believe, that we'll probably introduce that are new, right? Specific around, you need X amount of, whether it's trees or things of that nature, based on what I saw at the last meeting. So my question's around, A, what is the sequence we're thinking we're going to bring and the level of detail with respect to the different levels of this site plan? And then the only other element, which you saw in my note from earlier, is just around feasibility is one thing. I just want to make sure that we're all really clear around practicality of some of the things that we may or may not put into that, because that's where the rubber's going to hit the road. Because clarity of steps is one thing, but it's the detail within each of those for me, which I just want to have that clarity of understanding. Because what we saw at the last meeting was a lot more detail and prescriptive versus what I heard you lead with what this is.
Yeah, and I think that's the work that has to come. So, I don't envision this being a 1-month exercise. I think this is going to take time. And we might land on just the fact that we say you have to submit a plan from a landscape architect. And from professional practice standpoint, every neighborhood from here to the bridge requires it. And I know we're not an HOA, but, you know, it's something that like every package, every house that we design, you just have to do it. And then we're not telling the homeowner what to do, but they have to work with their consultant to put together a plan and share it with Susan. And that's to their liking. You know, we're not saying you have to have 2 holly trees. You go, you know, pay them to develop a plan to your liking and submit it, and it's a professionally developed plan, and, you know, that checks the boxes, or whatever it may be. We have to come to that agreement and decide. I think where we were going down the path last time was where we started 4 years ago, and that was saying you have to have a minimum of X based on your lot size. And, you know, that may be the right approach. That's what some other jurisdictions have gone to, or we may decide to go more comprehensive, which ultimately probably costs the homeowner a little more money, but, you know, maybe that's fine. We have to decide that.
Clear, thank you.
Yeah.
So are we talking about amendments to this thing, or are we talking about a checklist?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking that we have some of this in the code now. We know, for example, we have a ground covering ordinance. I'd like them to think about it beforehand, which they weren't doing before. They just show, here's a driveway. We didn't know if it was concrete or pavers or stone. So I think we want to have something that has all that information when they submit for permit, so that we can say, well, I'm going to put a walkway on the side. I don't want to show up and find that they have, you know, put a patio or a walkway in, and they weren't thinking about it beforehand. So I think we need, from the codes that we have, we know how much parking they have to have. We know how much has to be pervious, non-pervious. We know sort of what grading it has to be. We know what stormwater they have to do. So we're looking at, you know, anything else that might be important to that site plan for them to develop the whole thing as their new dwelling and build on it.
And the site plan could become an attachment too, to the ordinance.
Yeah.
The site plan would be submitted, would be developed by the architect or the team submitting the plan to Susan, right? That would be developed as part of the documentation for the development for the house. The checklist would be what they have to include on that plan.
Right, and the checklist
And
could be part of the ordinance.
we would develop the checklist
Right.
for all the items that they should include at a minimum onto the plan that gets submitted to Susan. That checklist they might also include to say they've reviewed and addressed those items and incorporated them, right? They've included their calculations for site coverage, and it's documented on that plan. They've showed all their downspouts and where they're terminating. They've included the grades at the house and at the neighbor's lot line, whatever all these items might be. And that comprehensive list is all the criteria, I think, is what we're looking to develop. It doesn't exist in one location now,
Right.
and it doesn't show up on, I would say, 90% of what Susan, correct me if I'm wrong, gets submitted, you know,
Mostly
until
it
it's
doesn't.
asked for.
I get some really pretty landscape plans after the fact.
Yeah,
But, and so it'd be nice to have them thinking about it and have a checklist so that it's included in their final inspection, that these things are in place.
Thank you.
and then I think like Susan's example was, if you're considering a shed or a X, is that factored into your overall lot coverage, right? Because if they've maxed out their coverage by their driveway,
Right,
then they can't put a shed in,
Shed in,
right?
yeah.
So you might want to scale back your hardscape or your patio or your deck or something to be able to accommodate this. Or you may need to you know, pull some levers or shift some things around if you're thinking you want to have a, you know, a pool bar or a pool shed or something. So not try to do like the bait and switch later and just have it show up or ask for forgiveness after the fact or that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
So I think if it's, go ahead, John.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I find myself in Mr. Rush's camp, if you will.
Okay.
In terms of common sense, flexibility, and not mandates. And I will only observe that as you were talking about this checklist, I don't think that checklist becomes a go or no-go on a project. If somebody doesn't check the shed thing, that shouldn't mean that you can't consider the rest of it. That's shame on them. But this is not, I don't know what the right word would be, prescriptive, but as an exemplar, the more checks of the boxes, the better in terms of the kinds of questions that you would get either from the building inspector or from somebody like me on the commission if somebody challenged something and it ended up coming with us. But I'm very much aligned with Mr. Rush on flexibility and all. Because we did that, as you said, in bulk density. It allows for potential new creative ideas and so forth. So, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, my only concern, and this has been my only concern with this, that we're saying we're putting together checklists, but this reads as if we're imposing additional requirements.
I think it's both. There aren't requirements currently for some of these items that we're asking for.
Okay, so it's basically clarifying issues and putting numbers on them that Susan has found to be confusing to people, or there's no clarity?
It could be numbers, it could be design criteria, it could be, you know, there's one of the items that was on Susan's list for us to discuss, which we haven't gotten to yet, was the driveway apron question, right? Should we allow people to split their 16 feet or 20 feet, whatever they're allowed? Because people are doing it right now, and it's taking away, in some cases, paid parking spaces, in other places, residential parking spaces, right? Well, that's happening all over the place. People are getting smart, and then it gives, you know, then it doesn't allow people to park in front of their house.
So it's addressing current issues?
It's addressing current issues, it's, you know, it's updating, it's incorporating new criteria, and it's putting it all into one place.
Okay.
So we're not getting, you know, subpar outcomes, just like what I suspect was happening when we were getting square, rectangular, vinyl-clad boxes that people didn't like, which promoted bulk density.
So for me, just where I think in my mind where I'm hearing this is, there's an aspect of, here's a checklist of everything that we need to make sure is considered. There are and put it in one place. There are components of that we have today that are fine, right? There are components that we have today that need further clarity. There are components that we need to come up with the regulations associated with those, right? So to me, it's like a step process. One is framing that story. Then the second is the debate and the conversation around, you know, the ones that we just have to amend. And then there's the component of what are new, right? And I think one of the pieces that we hit, at least last time, that is brand new is the tree component, which we have to have that discussion on. But then there are the elements that make your life the way it should be,
Yeah.
which are very clear, practical for you as well as the home builder. So that's where my head's going on this discussion, is just taking it sequentially across those three dynamics. And then I think we'll be able to provide the level of clarity, one, to this group as well as when we bring it up to because then we can just bring things to the council in piecemeal. This is how we're attacking it. This is we're going to come through this piece. From that perspective, we'll provide the clarity there.
That's really good, thank you.
Then, is it possible to amend this first section somehow to kind of incorporate that? Because this sounds different to me than what Bob just explained and what we've been talking about.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr.
Go
Chairman.
ahead.
In case I'm asked to summarize who's going to do what,
You're doing it.
We won't ask you, John, because we
Right.
want to end the meeting as quick as possible.
well, my question is, do you have someone or a group in mind to do what we just talked about?
What did we
Well-
just talk about?
About
Oh,
amending,
redoing this?
amending.
I mean, I did the first pass, so I'll work on
Yeah.
amending it, and
Got it. Thank you.
that's fine.
So can I ask a silly question? Well, just because it probably shows mine eye too. So I didn't see the signs on here. That's because it's not part of a site design. It'll be a separate conversation, correct?
Yeah.
Got it.
I
And that's on me.
have it on my handwritten note to ask about an update on it. It didn't make it on the formal agenda. So we could talk about that next if we're done beating this one down.
Just thank you for this, because I mean,
Yeah, that's fine.
it drove the
I mean-
clarity I think we're all looking for, so thank you.
Sure. The other updates that I had for old business, which didn't make it on the agenda, but were setbacks and density, which is on my list and Susan's to work on, and we haven't made any progress on that. And then signage, which Bob was on yours, and I don't know.
So signage is me. What I have found is that's going to be a lot more complicated than I thought. Not that I'm worried about it, but there's quite a bit to look there. We've had a couple conversations, but we haven't made the progress that we probably should have.
Yeah. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, we ask for more criteria for signage in terms of site plan and other documentation than we do for a house.
Well, we'll fix
So-
that. We can make it really simple with the signs, right,
If you
Susan?
read, if you read what's required for a signage package, you submit more site criteria for a sign application than you do for a house.
So Susan, anything to add on signs? I know, anything more to add on signs from your perspective? I mean, you've got a lot on your plate, so I'm not,
No, it's sort of status quo for right now, since we haven't made any changes. We're just waiting on figuring out what to do with it. I guess we'll have to go through the whole chapter and see what we want to add and how things have changed. And, I mean, most of it, I think, is reasonable, but I don't know, it's a big chapter to tackle.
Okay, any other questions? Good, all right, we're done.
Okay,
thank you.
motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second?
Wait, nobody go anywhere? Can I?